Do, do, do. Hello and welcome to Creator Weekly Live for February 4th, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today I've got updates for YouTube, more information about the conflict between TikTok and Universal Music Group, some tips for website owners, and a demo of the new image creation tool offered by Google. So I'll get started. First of all, I want to say thank you for joining me live. I hope the weather is not terrible where you are. Here in the Bay Area, it is raining and really windy. I can see out the window right now and the trees are just going crazy. And I'm a little concerned about the power lines. So if I vanish, maybe we're having a power outage. Hopefully not. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about today is an update for clips. Now, you probably know that most videos, unless the creator has turned it off, you can create a clip from that video. That's a very short segment. You specify what the segment is. You can add a title to it, and then you can share that clip on social media or by email or however you want to do it. You can see what clips people have made from your videos by going into YouTube Studio on desktop, clicking on the video, and then it will have an option to look at the clips. So you can see what clips people have made. There is a new feature that now lets you add the clips to your channel homepage. So if you go into YouTube Studio, select the customization option, and in the section where you can customize what appears on your main channel, you can choose the option to add a top community clips section, and that will highlight the top clips made from your videos. It's automatic. You can't pick and choose which clips are there, but it will show you the most popular ones. So that is something you might consider doing. Now, also consider that you can make clips of your own videos. So if there are little segments you want to highlight, they are maybe not suitable to be made into shorts, or you don't want to repurpose them, and you want people to see that clip in the context of the longer video, you can do this as well. So let me just take a moment and say hello to everyone who's in the live chat. Thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here. I hope the weather isn't too stormy where you are. The next thing I wanted to talk about is a new feature in YouTube Analytics that lets you see stats for your playlists. Let me quickly call up that information. And I seem to have not opened the page on that, but I will just say it instead of showing you the information. Now, if you are in YouTube Studio looking at the analytics and you go to the content tab, you'll now see the option to see stats for playlists. If you are on desktop, you can do sort of a deep dive into those stats. You can see both how well the videos are performing in the playlist. So how is the playlist itself doing? You can also see how well the videos that are in a playlist are doing overall. So you can see watch time and views and all those kinds of things. It's a useful metric, and it sort of complements the groups you can create in YouTube Analytics already. If you're not aware, you can go into the detailed YouTube Analytics and create any group of videos that you want to look at the analytics for. And that's a great way to compare different types of videos, or maybe you want to compare a certain series you did to another series, so forth. So those are the two main updates for YouTube this week. The last thing for YouTube I wanted to share is a tip from the YouTube creator liaison, Renee Ritchie. And I will just switch to that tab. A big question that people frequently ask is, if you are creating a video that is not your normal style of video, maybe different content, whatever, should you change the setting that lets it be shown to your subscribers and giving a notification? So some people feel like if they're doing something totally different than what they usually do, they don't want to notify their subscribers. And the fear is that YouTube will push this, notify the subscribers, notify people who have clicked the little bell, and those people won't be interested because it's not your usual kind of video. And because they aren't visited, because they aren't interested, they don't click the notification, they don't click the video in their subscription feed, and that tanks the performance of the video overall. So you should read this information from YouTube. The short answer is it should not hurt you to notify your subscribers if it's a different kind of video, even when you think maybe your subscribers wouldn't be particularly interested in it. So the more complicated answer, he says, is even people who are subscribed and get notifications typically watch videos from the home page, not the subscription feed or notifications anyway. So it probably doesn't even make that much of a difference. And the second point is that performance is primarily driven by the data from where the video was served. So, for example, if people see it in the subscription feed and they don't actually click on it, that isn't going to affect what people see on their YouTube homepage. So it shouldn't make that much of a difference. I think a lot of times people get sort of hung up on trying to optimize everything, and they over-optimize and maybe even miss out on some views because they're trying to push the algorithm to serve their video in a particular way, and it doesn't work like that. So if this affects you, try not turning off those options. So those are the YouTube updates I wanted to mention this week. The other big thing people are talking about is that TikTok and Universal Music Group, they didn't come to a contract agreement. This is something that you maybe don't think about as a creator, but TikTok and Facebook and YouTube, of course, they have licenses from the big music platforms, and they need to have those licenses to offer that music for people to use when they're creating their videos. So in TikTok, you're creating a video, you can use something from their music library, and people select popular songs, of course, because they're popular songs, and that actually can get your video more views because people are looking for that music. And TikTok in particular has been a driver for people finding music. We've seen a number of songs that have this sort of blown up because somebody started using it in their TikTok and it got popular and so forth. So this is a big deal. They have not come to an agreement. TikTok says Universal Music Group is greedy. And, just switching over, to be fair, what Universal Music Group says is that TikTok is greedy. And so they haven't come to any sort of agreement. I suspect they will come to something eventually, but this right now is really painful for creators who selected one of these songs under this license, because Universal Music Group includes a lot of big name music artists, Taylor Swift, Drake, a whole bunch of them. So people who use that music in their TikToks, that's muted now because that music is no longer licensed, which is kind of funny, probably, if you're like dancing to it and now there's no more sound. And of course, it's bad for the smaller music acts. Universal Music Group is sort of an umbrella organization. It has the big stars. It also has some smaller labels where they're not hugely famous. And some of those artists have actually used TikTok to promote their music. So it hurts the creators on the platform. It hurts the smaller artists. But these are big companies in a dispute. I strongly suspect they'll come to some agreement eventually, but it's painful for now. And both sides want to say the other side needs us. So Universal Music Group says TikTok needs us, so they should pay more. And TikTok is saying the music industry needs us to promote their songs. So we'll see how that pans out. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit to give some information for people who have their own website or blog. The first thing I want to note is that there is currently a problem with Google's search indexing. And I wanted to specifically mention that if you are interested in these kind of issues, you should take a look at Google's search status dashboard. Maybe you didn't even know this existed. It's at status.search.google.com. And you can see if there's any major incidents. In this particular case, there was a problem with indexing for Google search. It was noticed on February 1st. The last update was February 3rd, yesterday. It says the issue with indexing has been mitigated and our systems are becoming stable, but we're still working on a fix. And the next update will be within 48 hours. So if you have published something to your website or blog in the past few days and it's not being indexed, it could be affected by this issue. Keep an eye on the status dashboard. And of course, all of the big blogs and Google News people will be looking at this information as well. And just a small change that I personally find annoying is that in Google search, it used to be possible to have a result and then click the additional information and then open the cached version of that web page. The cached version of the page gives you a snapshot of what Google saw when they last indexed the page. And this can be very useful if the website is now down. I use it when trying to help people in the YouTube help community, in the blogger help community. If their blog or YouTube channel has been removed, you can see a snapshot of what Google saw last. So you can see what the content was, maybe see what the problem was. Google has removed that option, And I will just note that according to the Google search liaison, Danny Sullivan, they acknowledge that this was been removed, and they say it's because it's basically something that Google offered when it was a bigger problem that websites would go down and not be accessible. He says that personally, he hopes maybe Google will add links to the Internet Archive that might have a cache, although a lot of times the Internet Archive does not have a particular website or YouTube channel cached there. And he notes that if you have a Search Console account, you can use the URL inspector tool in Search Console to see what the Google search crawler saw for your own website pages. So what's lost is the ability to see the cached version of other websites. And it's probably used by a very small number of people, but it's an extremely useful tool for me, at least. All right, so the other update that I wanted to share is that Google is offering I obviously missed the wrong link. Let's see, Google developers. All right. Sorry about that. I thought I had the page open and I did not. So the next thing is that Google has published an updated SEO starter guide. So if you're interested in search engine optimization, you should check this out, because the new version of the SEO starter guide is more aimed at starters. I guess there was an issue that the previous version of the SEO starter guide was getting really into details that beginners maybe didn't have to worry about. So this is really useful if you're interested in search engine optimization. Check out the Google SEO starter guide, and in particular, I would say go down. You can see there's a lot of information about how it works. Basic advice: make your site interesting and useful. Of course, that's pretty simple, and a lot of people think that there's got to be a lot more to it than that. And I am going to say that the section that I found really helpful is a section titled Things We Believe You Should Not Focus On. So it says, as SEO has evolved, so have ideas and practices. Previous best practices and priorities maybe aren't so important anymore. So don't use outdated suggestions. These are things that Google is saying explicitly you should not worry about. So that includes meta keywords, keyword stuffing, and there's more links to details of what these mean. Putting keywords in the domain name or URL path, trying to aim for some minimum or maximum content length, worrying about subdomains versus subdirectories, worrying about page rank, worrying about a penalty for duplicate content, worrying about the number and order of headings, and of course, the latest thing is thinking EEAT is a ranking factor. EEAT is one of the things that Google says you should think about for your website. That's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So EEAT is something that you should strive for in your website, but it is not a ranking factor specifically. I think people get a little bit hung up on worrying about the things that Google says are important for your website in general, things that show your site is a quality site, and then saying, oh, I've got to focus on that to be ranked at all, and that's not how it works. So those are the updates for webmasters. And I have got to find my links. All right. So I'm going to shift gears here a little bit and then mention very quickly, there is an option now for Pixel devices. If you have a Pixel phone or a Pixel tablet, it's now easier to set passcodes for third-party sites. So a passcode is a way to sign into your account without using a password, and instead uses a device that's trusted and something that you have a fingerprint or passkey, PIN, or other way to sign in. And if you have one of these devices, you can now use it to set up your passkey for Adobe, Best Buy, eBay, PayPal, TikTok, and so forth. This is going to make it a lot easier, and Google really wants people to adopt passkeys. They talk about the passwordless future because passwords aren't that secure. This is more secure. Nobody can steal your biometrics. People could steal your phone, but then hopefully you have a PIN or so forth to protect it. So this is something you should check out. I suspect that eventually this will be available to all Google accounts, not just Pixel devices. And then the last thing I wanted to do really quickly is give a demonstration of a new image creation tool called ImageFX from Google. It's part of their AI test kitchen. If you want a link, you should check out my newsletter, blog post. There's a link in the description of the video that links to this. The neat thing about this is that you can use the text to image AI generator. It's based on ImageN 2, which is Google's latest AI model for doing this. And this is kind of fun because you can do a prompt, and I am just going to use the suggested prompt. Let me switch layout so I can make this bigger. All right. I'm going to use a suggested prompt that is a realistic photograph of a cute otter zebra mouse in a field of tall grass. Or, I don't know why it's not just doing that. I will say I'm feeling lucky and say, this is now generating an incredible, amazing, mind-blowing optical illusion. You know, it's kind of neat images that it creates for that. But the neat thing is that you can then go to the specific terms and modify. This isn't as useful as some. It gives you related terms that you can use to create a new image. So I could switch to mind-bending 3D puzzle and generate that. It's a way of modifying the prompts to get different images. And I think the images that it creates are pretty neat. The other thing that Google is showing is new is in Google Bard. Google Bard now lets you generate an image. You can just tell it, create a particular image, and it will do it right in your chat along with the other Bard chat. So that can be a lot of fun as well. The images are not identical to what you see in ImageFX, but it's using the same image generation model. So give those a try. That's actually pretty fun. And I think that's all I'm going to talk about today. That's a lot. Thank you so much for joining me live. If you use the image generation tools and you share them somewhere on social media or your blog or wherever, ping me and I'm curious to see what you curate. Again, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next